Estuary News, I'm Luke Adams. In the headlines tonight, rural crime is higher in Lincolnshire than other parts of the country. A man is wanted in connection with a Cleethorpes murder, and House of Fraser plans to close stores in our region. And later in tonight's programme, I'll be talking to Ed Faulkner on Tripfest. Before that, Sarah Booth-Card and Leah Knowles on wildlife-friendly gardens. But first tonight, new figures show the cost of rural crime is higher in Lincolnshire than elsewhere in the country. NFU Mutual says they dealt with claims worth more than £2 million in the county last year. Nationally, the cost of rural crime has risen to £44.5 million as organised criminal gangs target farm machinery. Thefts of quad bikes, agricultural vehicles and 4x4s have driven a 13.4% increase in crime over the last year. The company says farmers are resorting to medieval fortifications such as earthworks to protect their property. Police are trying to trace a man wanted in connection with the murder of Sean Lyle in Cleethorpes last month. 28-year-old Abdi Ali is originally from Somalia and has links to the Grimsby and Lincolnshire area. He has a distinctive gold tooth at the front of his mouth. Lyle was found dead at a property on Sydney Street on the 17th of July. 4 people have been arrested in connection with his death. Police are appealing for witnesses after a woman was robbed in Hull. The incident happened last Tuesday afternoon when the woman was walking along Inglemire Lane towards Beverley Road with another woman and approached from behind by 2 men on a scooter. One of the men attempted to grab the handbag from the shoulder of one of the women. She kept hold of the bag but fell to the floor where she was assaulted. She suffered minor injuries but nothing was stolen. The suspects then sped off along Inglemire Lane towards Hall Road. Plans to close 31 House of Fraser stores are to go ahead. The company has settled a legal row with a group of landlords who had challenged the terms of its rescue deal. In June, the firm announced it plans to close its stores in Hull, Grimsby and Lincoln to deal with mounting debt problems. 31 of the company's 59 shops will close by January. Hull New Theatre says this year's pantomime of Cinderella will still go ahead despite the death of Barry Chuckle over the weekend. The Chuckle brothers were due to perform at the venue in December. Yorkshire-born Barry died at his home on Saturday after a short period of ill health. He was 73. The duo have performed at Hull New Theatre many times since 1995. They're best known for the children's TV series Chucklevision, which ran for 22 years between 1987 to 2009. Hull New Theatre says they are working closely with Kudos Entertainment on a revised lineup for this year's pantomime. An allotment garden in Hull that caters for people living with mental illness is to gain an expansion. The Haven Allotment Group, run by Humber NHS Foundation Trust, provides mental and physical therapy for patients living with depression and anxiety. Now the allotment will receive a wildlife garden. Werner Hotham says the allotment provides much needed respite for its patients.
Well, it was set up in 2003. Research that had been going on at the time suggested that being in nature and being with plants is very helpful for people with mental health problems because it helps to reduce the symptoms. So people who are struggling with depression and anxiety, that it helps reduce it because the people are in a natural environment. It's also been researched that people with mental health problems benefit from gardening because it, from a social inclusion aspect, it helps people feel belonging to something and it gets people back into society, really.
I'm ex-armed forces, I don't know if you can tell from the top I have on, and I was medically discharged with PTSD and mental health issues back in 2006, and Humber NHS Teaching Trust have supported me and helped me over the past 12 years since my discharge. And one of the things that they've invited me to do is to come to this allotment and get involved, and I've been here for 4 years now and haven't looked back. It's been an amazing experience. I've really enjoyed it. There are so many positives to working on an allotment. You have the physical side of things first. You can get your endorphins running through your body, which is a feel-good sort of chemical which helps. You also get some support and some mutual empathy from other clients and volunteers and staff. You have the social side of things, and you also have a feeling of being within a team, helping each other out, and of course you learn some holds good cultural skills as well, which are well worth knowing.
Goschalks, the solicitors came to help us out. We have all sorts of people that we liaise with to help us out sometimes. So Goschalks came down, the solicitors in Hull, and helped us cut down a really overgrown patch at the allotment group, and we're going to develop it into a wildlife garden. So there'll be a sensory garden, there'll be plants in there that attract wildlife, there'll be plants in there like lavender, which are good for people's emotional health. There'll be a pond, there'll be a quiet area for people to sit and just relax. So everybody at the group's going to be involved in that and plan it from scratch, so that'll be a really exciting project, I think, for us down here.
3 people have been injured following an explosion near Bridlington in the early hours of this morning. The incident happened at an industrial estate in Carnaby, where a build-up of gas in an industrial oven ignited and blew the oven doors off. 1 man suffered cuts to his head, a woman was left with burns, and another man was also injured. Humberside Fire and Rescue Service is reminding the public that cooling off in rivers, lakes and reservoirs can be fatal. The warning comes as the prolonged heat wave in our region continues. The banks of the River Humber, the barge area of Grimsby, Hull Marina and the River Hull make up the majority of call-outs. Over half of all water rescues in Humberside have occurred in Hull since 2009. The service says swimming or cooling off in water can be deadly, as cold water shock can kill. Hull and East Yorkshire Hospital's NHS Trust is cutting back on disposable cups. The Trust is replacing them with reusable cups in a bid to cut costs and reduce their environmental footprint over the next 2 years. Last year, the Trust used 390,000 disposable cups in its restaurants and cafes. The aim is to halve that amount by 2020. East Riding Council has been awarded more than £70,000 to deliver a visitor attraction in the county. A grant of £724,000 from the National Lottery will enable the local authority to restore the Grade 2 listed Hesel Whiting Mill. Access will be improved to the site, and an activity programme uncovering the geological and industrial heritage of the area will be introduced. Work is expected to start early next year and completed by the autumn. More than 30,000 people attended this year's Humber Street Sesh in Hull. The festival, now in its 7th year, saw 200 live acts entertain the crowds on the marina over the weekend. For the first time, the event was expanded over the entire marina, and there was an additional night on Friday. And I'm joined now by Sarah Booth-Card and Leah Knowles from Yorkshire Wildlife Trust to tell me how to make gardens wildlife friendly. Good evening, welcome to the programme. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. First of all, are you enjoying this abundance of hot weather, like how creatures and wildlife?
I think we're enjoying it a lot more than the creatures and the other wildlife are enjoying it. It's been a bit of a tricky time for them at the moment.
Obvious question, but do they suffer with this heat like humans?
In a lot of possibly in a different way to how humans would suffer. So we kind of moan about the hot weather, that we're too hot, and then if it rains, we moan about it raining, whereas for animals it is literally a matter of life and death. So finding food is probably, and water to drink is probably your main issues. So for example, hedgehogs, a lot of the food that they eat, slugs, snails, like wet weather, so they've literally been burrowing away, so the hedgehogs can't find them. So we're finding a lot of hedgehogs quite hungry, especially hoglets, because it's the time they're being born and being weaned off their mother's milk. For example, bees, butterflies, flowers obviously need water to grow as well, and as you know, they're not getting enough water, the plants are dying back, therefore there isn't enough nectar, pollen in the flowers for bees and butterflies to go about their business of collecting the pollen and nectar.
So a good tip is to make sure they have lots of water and keep hydrated like we need.
Absolutely, lots of water, because bees, wasps, all sorts of invertebrates like to drink water. Obviously make sure you change the water regularly, because there's been a lot of issues with bees passing diseases on to one another. Hedgehogs, again, really suffering, having accessible water that's not a pond, unless you've got a really nice safe pond that they are good swimmers, but they need to be able to get out and escape from the water.
Sarah, how can we create a wildlife friendly garden?
So a wildlife friendly garden can actually be really, really easy and really cheap. Leaving an area of long grass in the corner of your garden. It increases the amount of invertebrates, so therefore increases the amount of food for birds. Again, for hedgehogs, also increases the amount of wildflowers for invertebrates. Also, maybe popping in a bug hotel, which can be made from scraps of wood left over in the garden. So creatures like tawny mining bees and different solitary bees can then find their way in to lay eggs, so they can then reproduce. Then you've got another easy thing is a compost heap. Putting out all the old scraps of grass and gardening cuttings.
Now, Leah, you're one of the youth ambassadors for Youth in Nature.
Yeah.
What kind of things are you involved with the charity?
So what have we been...
Creating lots of wildlife and hotel
safe
books and things?
Yeah, safe firelighting. We do a lot of stalls and just making gardens more wildlife friendly.
Sarah, very quickly, how important is it for young people to engage with wildlife?
I mean, I think it's absolutely crucial, and I know the people who we work on the project with, so that whether that's Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, whether that's Probe, Child Dynamics, we believe that it's important to get children outside first and foremost. We know that it's linked to...
Wonderful. Sarah, we must leave it there.
No,
Thank you very much indeed. No problem. Join me after the break when Jack brings us the latest sports news and Ed Faulkner on TripFest. Welcome back, you're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, all the latest sports news with Jack, and I'll be talking to Ed Faulkner about this year's TripFest. A letting agent in Grimsby has been handed a court bill of nearly £2,000 after pleading guilty to a number of offences. Mayfair estate agents was found to be in breach of a number of basic fire safety standards at a property on Cleethorpe Road in Grimsby following an investigation by the local authority. These included no emergency lighting to communal areas, damage to fire doors and combustible materials obstructing emergency escape routes. The company was prosecuted and pleaded guilty to 5 offences under the Housing Act. They were ordered to pay £1,700. A breastfeeding celebration event will be held in Grimsby tomorrow. The event will highlight the local achievements of maternity, health visiting and children's centres in improving breastfeeding rates. Mums from across northern Lincolnshire will share their experiences on breastfeeding and baby-friendly accreditation plaques will be presented. The event, which coincides with World Breastfeeding Week, will be held at Europark Innovation Centre tomorrow morning. East Yorkshire Council is to fund a new bus service. The council has agreed on a long-term contract with East Yorkshire Motor Services for the number 18 service, which connects home on Spalding Moor to York. The service was scrapped earlier this year by EYMS as it was running at a loss. It will be operated by EYMS. New courses are being offered to people with mental health problems in Lincolnshire. The Lincolnshire Recovery College aims to help people recover from mental illness by using an educational-based approach. Lincolnshire Partnership NHS Foundation Trust, which will be running the project, says hosting the courses in an academic setting rather than the NHS helps reduce the stigma of mental health problems. An enrolment day will be held in Lincoln on the 13th and 14th of September. An international volleyball festival takes place in Bridlington this weekend. The resort will be the sole host for the 2018 Co-Federation of European Volleyball Beach Volleyball Festival. Activities include taster sessions, a world record attempt at the biggest game of beach volleyball and a bungee run. There will also be a giant inflatable volleyball court. Jake Sheaf, one half of England's #1 ranked beach volleyball team, will be playing at the event. He has achieved 4 European medals and 5 national titles. The festival will be at Bridlington Southcliffe Beach on Saturday and Sunday. TripFest is set to take place in East Yorkshire later this month. The event is now in its 12th year. I'm joined by Ed Faulkner to tell me what's in store. Good evening, Ed. Welcome to the programme.
Good evening, Luke.
Thank you very much for coming in.
No problem.
What is TripFest Festival?
It's the world's biggest tribute band music festival.
The world's biggest music festival.
Well, we'd like to think so.
Okay. You've got about 170 acts performing over about 3 or 4 days. Who are some of these acts who are going to be taking part?
Oh, we've got all sorts. We've got Meatloaf, we've got the Queen, we've got the Four Kicks, which are a tribute to the Kings of Leon. We've got something for everybody.
Adele. Bob Marley,
Bob Marley,
Genesis,
yeah.
Little Mix, Stereophonics.
Yeah.
So quite, like you rightly say there, something to all taste.
Yeah,
and
all
my
taste.
personal favourite would probably be ABBA Revival.
Oh, right.
Because they're very
yeah.
topical at the moment, of course.
We've
with
had them a few years. We
music
tend to
film.
sort of have some of the better bands like ABBA. We tend to sort of give them a year's rest and then bring them back. And they're a fantastic band, yeah. They're a real good crowd pleaser.
Ed, the 12th year this event will be.
Yeah.
How popular has it become in that time?
Well, it's gone from 700 people in 2007 to nearly 4,500 now. So we're really, really pleased on how it's gone. It's been hard work, mind you. You know, it hasn't been easy over the last 12 years, but we're out of the woods now and things are looking good.
Great success.
Yeah, yeah.
When and where is it taking place?
It's taking place on the 16th to the 19th of August at Sledmere House, a beautiful setting, hidden away in East Yorkshire. It's hidden. It's Yorkshire's hidden jewel. That's what I'd say. It's far away from the madding crowd, so we don't have any noise pollution stuff like we had before. So it's a fantastic venue. Yeah, you know, we can get on with doing what we do best, and that's create a brilliant event.
Sledmere House, of course, near Driffield.
Driffield, that is it, sorry, yeah.
Has it always been held there?
No. We started off at Driffield Showground and we held it there for 4 years. And again, we had a few noise complaints and things like that. So we moved it to Beverley Polo Club and we had a few noise complaints. So we kept it there for about 3 or 4 years. Sledmere is the perfect site for it. It's like I say, it's hidden away and we don't have the problems that we used to before. So it's great.
Good venue.
Yeah.
16th to the 19th of August, and I believe from my experiences of this event, people can come in and camp up and stay for the full festival.
Yeah, you can come on Thursday morning, 8 o'clock, and leave on Monday morning at 12 noon. So it's a full 4-day fun-filled festival, yeah.
Do people come from far and wide then?
Yeah, they do. Yeah. We've got a lot of people coming from Holland now. We get a lot of the acts coming from all over Europe. In fact, we've got the Bruce Springsteen coming all the way from Brisbane, Australia this year. So yeah, it's internationally recognised.
I was going to say
now.
truly international.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Ed, as well as all the music, there's going to be a comedy lounge as well. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. The local guy, Steve Rimmer, who hosts a lot of comedy in the Hull area. He brings together around about 30 acts, and we have the likes of the TV star Patrick Monaghan playing, who's at Edinburgh Festival this year. He's coming down on a Sunday to play. But we have a host of comedians that come throughout England, really. So it's great, yeah.
How good is this event then to raise their profile and give them, this platform?
Well, I think every comedian likes to play a festival. I think it's a different type of audience. Everybody's up for it, and I don't say all the comedians, but 90% of them go down very well. Along with all the other music we've got, like the acoustic stage. Sure. The unsigned stage. There's a kids zone with we've improved their facilities and increased a lot more activities for the kids. So yeah, it's developing every year.
Developing, growing and growing. 2007, you set up this festival.
Yeah.
Why?
I asked the same question.
Okay.
I mean, it was the year of the floods, 2007.
That's right.
And we was no exception. We was up to our waist in water, and I lost thousands of pounds. But I had a vision, you know what I mean? And I wanted to keep it going. It was something good. And I had an understandable bank manager at the time, so which does help. And basically, it's just come from strength to strength.
And obviously, you're very pleased with how it's going. 12 years down the line.
Definitely now. Yeah.
Great event in the East Yorkshire calendar.
Well, it was in 2007. It was the only event really, as far as sort of a weekend event was concerned. There was no like Freedom Festival like these in Hull or Humber Sesh. It was just gone this weekend, which I attended, which was absolutely fantastic.
Great event.
So I don't know whether we've been pioneers for creating other people and again giving them the vibe to sort of produce another festival. But it's brilliant. Yeah, we're well established now in not just in East Yorkshire, but in the UK festival calendar world. So.
Tickets still available for this event?
Yeah, they're still available. Yeah, we've only got a few left. This time of year, they're selling like hotcakes. A lot of people sort of stay. They're looking out the curtains every morning, and looking. We all want good weather, but hopefully we'll get it this year.
I wish you all the best. Tripfest.co.uk. People want more information.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Now here's Jack with all the sports news.
It was a mixed weekend for our local teams as the new football season officially got underway at the weekend. Scunthorpe United got off to the perfect start in Nick Dawes' first game since being appointed the manager on a full-time basis. On Saturday, the Iron beat newly promoted Coventry City 2-1 at the Ricoh Arena. Scunthorpe had to come from behind, but second-half goals from new signings Stephen Humphreys and Andy Dale sealed an opening day victory for United in League One. Meanwhile, over at Blundell Park, it was a terrible start to the League Two season for Grimsby Town. The Mariners were thumped 4-1 by Forest Green Rovers on Saturday in a miserable showing in front of their own supporters. A Mitch Rose penalty had given Town a half-time lead, but Rovers struck 4 times after the break to inflict a heavy defeat on Michael Jolly's side. However, the match will be remembered for 2 calamitous back-pass mistakes from Grimsby. Danny Collins bizarrely put through his own goal after horribly misjudging a pass-back before Reece Hall-Johnson's poor pass was punished by Christian Doige. Michael Jolly may now decide to do more business while the transfer window is still open after Saturday's surprisingly poor performance. In the Championship, Hull City get their season off and running tonight as they host Aston Villa at the KCOM Stadium. New signing Eric Lehigh is expected to start for the Tigers against one of his former clubs. Kamil Grosicki and Jackson Irvine aren't involved in the matchday squad after returning to training much later after taking part in the World Cup. Jack Grealish is the obvious danger man for Villa, and the 22-year-old is expected to play despite being linked with Tottenham Hotspur. Kick-off in the game tonight is at 7:45, and I'll bring you all the post-match thoughts of Hull manager Nigel Adkins in tomorrow's bulletin. And finally, in tennis, Kyle Edmund is back in action later today in the first round of the Canadian Open. The British number 1 takes on the Argentinian number 11 seed Diego Schwartzman in Toronto. Edmund will be hoping to bounce back from his defeat to Andy Murray in Washington last week. I'll bring you all the details of how Kyle gets on tomorrow. That's all for today's sport. Back to Luke in the studio.
Thanks very much, Jack. Good to have you back with us on the team. As always, if you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages. Details are on the screen as I speak. Email news at estuary.tv or phone at Grimsby 01472 31553. Write to us at the usual address with any news stories you may have. Have a great Monday evening from all of us on the team. We'll see you live at 5:30 tomorrow.